is the political stories of the day. The Standard going big is this: Raila's running mate questioning if the former Gatanga MP is strategically being positioned to be the #2 in the Azimio la Umoja campaign. Over to the Daily Nation, Ruto and the price of quitting Jubilee. As you can see, barely 9 months to the general election, and a lot is happening in the political landscape. But in order to put these particular stories in context, let's start with the latest from the One Kenya Alliance, who just yesterday issued a strongly worded statement denouncing claims of being summoned into a meeting by President Uhuru Kenyatta or being intimidated to back former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. But what exactly is the solo numerical strength of the alliance in the 2022 presidential contest, and how would their entry to either Odinga's or Deputy President William Ruto's camps impact the 2022 contest? Murimi Mwangi interrogates.
On at least 3 occasions, One Kenya Alliance presidential hopefuls Musalia Mudavadi and Kalonzo Musyoka have had to face the ghosts of their 2017 fallout with former Prime Minister Raila Odinga in joint meetings chaired by President Uhuru Kenyatta and also attended by KANU Chairman Gideon Moi. The rallying unity call from all these meetings hinting at the likelihood of Kenyatta seemingly crafting a grand national alliance as his preferred outfit to take up the country's leadership mantle. But in a strongly worded statement, the Alliance Secretariat had denied reports of Kenyatta recently seeking audience with the team, indicating that the core principles past participation in these meetings alongside any other party has been voluntary and that the meetings have been held in most congenial and positive circumstances, with the interest and good of the country as the primary consideration. But what really is the Oka game plan?
The Oka team is being seen to be the swing vote. That if they go this side, straight away. If they go this other side, straight away win. So it means then, to some extent, Oka becomes the kingmaker. But as we are saying, we are not going to be the kingmaker, we are actually going to be the king.
At his solo 2007 presidential run, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, then vying on the ODM Kenya ticket, emerged third with a paltry 879,000 votes in a close contest between retired President Mwai Kibaki and ODM leader Raila Odinga, whose vote difference was a meager 231,000 votes. A near similar scenario to the 2013 outcome, where Mudavadi, then running as a third force, then also backed by the Gideon Moi-led KANU party, emerged third with 483,000 votes, while the margin between Odinga and Kenyatta, the winning candidate, was some 832,000 votes. Yet without a likely frontrunner from the populous Kenyatta Mount Kenya backyard, and with the Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto axis separately quoting Oka into their camps, will Oka retain its current stature as the alternative third force or swing to action as the decisive kingmaker?
The members who are there are members who are basically in NASA. We exited, except Gideon Moi, who was in Jubilee, who was coming. But look at each of them. What level of political support do they enjoy? Where is their constituent support? So it's very difficult to say that all of them have anything significantly. 2 of those principles, they come from Western Kenya.
In 2002, we had the Wamalo Force. And I can see the Wamalo Force is coming back, the grand march to State House. Even Musalia, when he was a vice president, he flopped in Sabatia here because he was going against the grain. Now, if you're not with Musalia, you see Wetangula has aligned himself with Musalia.
This is an alliance where we want to treat every partner as an equal partner. And anyone who will become the presidential candidate will actually be one among equals. That's the thing. So Murimi, when you look at all this mathematics, the truth of the matter is Oka becomes very attractive to either side.
Key political parties in the 2022 contest, including the Oka affiliates, Kenyatta's Jubilee, Odinga-led ODM, and Ruto newfound outfit UDA, are due to hold their national delegates conferences later this year. And no doubt, more realignments loom as the 2022 countdown continues. Murimi Mwangi, KTN News.
Well, interesting times we're living. Are they the kingmakers, or will they stick by themselves till the end? Big questions right there, and we'll get to delve deeper later. But let's take a look at what's happening in the Jubilee Party. The coming months could mark the final days of the ruling Jubilee Party as we know it, with President Uhuru Kenyatta's allies and those in the rivals' camp, led by his deputy William Ruto, angling for fresh formations ahead of the 2022 polls. This is key Jubilee insiders hint at the party working out the final touches in formalizing a coalition agreement with the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga-led ODM party. Now, our senior political affairs reporter Chris Thairo gives an insight into the looming Jubilee shakeup as the Kenyatta succession race enters the homestretch.
Monday's National Management Committee meeting of the ruling Jubilee Party, that also included some members of the Jubilee Parliamentary Group meeting, was the clearest sign that plans to revamp the party that has been in power for 4 years is on its final stages. Top on the agenda during the looming National Delegates Conference will be a coalition between Jubilee and opposition party ODM, given the good working relationship between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM party leader Raila Odinga since the March 9, 2018 handshake. Another proposal is to remove the yellow color from the Jubilee slogan and flags, which represented the defunct United Republican Party, URP, headed by Deputy President William Ruto, and remain with the red, which represent the defunct TNA. Before the delegates endorsed to kick out Deputy President William Ruto as the Jubilee Deputy Party leader.
The only thing that we have discussed are coalitions. A merger is completely different thing.
However, there have been some brewing storm from a section of the members that the proposal to merge with ODM and field joint candidates might just be the last nail in Jubilee's coffin.
That's the essence of democracy. I would be extremely depressed if we had a country where people do not disagree. We must disagree.
But speaking to KTN News from Glasgow, Scotland, where he's attending a global climate conference alongside President Uhuru Kenyatta, Jubilee Coalition Joint Parliamentary Group Secretary Aidan Keynan dismissed the raging talk of Jubilee collapse, indicating, and I quote, "We are in the final stages of plans to hold a National Delegates Conference to chart our next political course that will be a major tsunami. We trust that our members will rally behind us in the party's push to court new alliances, including a new political partnership with ODM and other like-minded parties through a broad-based coalition." End of quote.
There are discussions which have been done at our level, and there are discussions which are done at the level of the two party leaders. It is beyond my pay grade to divulge to you anything which has come up at the level of the two party leaders.
At the time Jubilee Tuko Pamoja Party was formed by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, both will spend most of the time together at State House, donning white shirts and red ties, hitting daily headlines from one newsroom to the other, trending in all social media platforms because of the strength and magnitude it had on other old existing parties. The political unity between the two leaders was cemented by the fact that both faced cases against humanity at the International Criminal Court ICC before launching their fresh unity between TNA and URP at Afraha Stadium in Nakuru County. But that love is no more.
na megutuma tuthie na mbere na mawira maria twambiriirie na nigetha tutikeonerie gita bururi tucokete kuria tumite.
With the confusion and divisions among senior officials within the party, it still remains unclear whether the party will last beyond August 9th general election next year, given that the party has no plans on whether they will hold grassroots elections. And the last parliamentary group meeting they held was in June last year. Chris Thairo, KTN News.
Well, it's definitely a sign of the time. So much happening in the political sphere, and it has been covered in today's dailies. As I hinted, the front pages are sort of angling on different narratives. One questioning if Peter Kenneth could actually be among the favorites to land the #2 slot in Raila Odinga's presidency. Even as the Daily Nation questions the Ruto's price in terms of quitting Jubilee and what exactly might follow after that particular touted National Delegates Conference that's set to happen this particular month. Of course, they should give a 21-day notice, and we'll definitely inform you about the latest developments. But let's get into the thick of it. Joining me in studio to help us deliberate on this, matters and more, I'm joined by Martin Zowino, the Member of Parliament on Diwa constituency. It has been a while, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Rogers.
It's great to see you.
Happy to see you again.
Well, thanks for making time. I'm sure we'll talk about the impending merger with the Jubilee Party later on. But equally, we're joined by Professor Alfred Omenya, governance expert. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Rogers.
Great. Equally joined by Alex Manyasi from our City Centre studios, policy expert. Great to see you, sir. Good morning. All right, so gentlemen, let's start with the latest right now. A lot happening in the political sphere. So perhaps let's start with you, Martin Zowino. Is this Raila's running mate? That's a big question on the front page of The Standard. And they're evaluating the chances of Peter Kenneth, the former Gatanga Member of Parliament, positioning himself as the #2 with the former Prime Minister. Well, what's your take on this, especially whether this might tilt the scale in a region that has been touted to be in favor of the Deputy President as it is currently?
Thank you, Rogers. First of all, let me say it's good to be back, and it's good to see you as well. It's very interesting how the media also do the arithmetic. Several meetings ends up in maybe a nomination. But that said, the Gatanga MP has been a fine guy, and if you look at his development record, is fine too. And is a gentleman who has integrity. That said, the issue of a running mate really is in the docket of the presidential candidate. In this case, is my party leader, Rao. What I can say for sure is that he will look for somebody who can help him to implement the vision he has for Kenyans. Somebody who can unite people. Somebody who has no arrogance and is a team player. Raila Amolo Odinga, in his character, really has people of Kenya in his heart. And he has struggled all through to do that. And that person, irrespective of the area he will come from, must also be in that kind of category. What I can quickly say, which other people say that look for somebody who has chemistry and all this, well, chemistry come up and goes. But the person who can implement programs, who can deputize without insubordination, somebody who can be a people's person, just like Raila is a people's president. That is the person that I think Baba will be going for. As to say who he is now, that depends on Baba himself. I cannot say on the studio.
But we can talk about the region. Mount Kenya region seems to be the specific area most people are angling for in terms of the #2 slot, yeah?
That's for sure.
No.
Mount Kenya, political is numbers. You need also somebody who will bring numbers to the table. Is in the central part of this campaign, and I think Baba has been there many times. And there are good candidates there. We can't dismiss that. But I just want to say that when it comes to pinpointing that this is the person that Baba will choose, we leave that prerogative to Baba himself. But I've just laid out the qualities that I know Baba will be looking for. And of course, Mount Kenya is in the central play.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Manyasi, add your voice to this. So what impetus does this add? The impact, especially in terms of the voting pattern in the Mount Kenya region, the #2 coming from this particular region, or perhaps a presidential candidate, who knows? What impact might this have in 9 months?
Just say the Mount Kenya region is a very interesting region, and I have very many reasons to say that. You remember during the Kibaki time, the Mount Kenya people went for Kamwana against Kibaki in the first election. So the way the Mount Kenya people think is extremely unique. If I was to analyze how the Mount Kenya people react to Peter Kenneth, for example, being picked as running mate, or Peter Munya, or Justin Muturi, or Martha Karua, all of them will elicit very different reactions from Mount Kenya people. And so, yes, I agree that Peter Kenneth will bring fresh air anywhere around anyone from a national platform. But from a regional or Mount Kenya standpoint, that largely will depend entirely on what other person is picked, if any, from that region by the opponent. I say that because then, like I said, the uniqueness of the way the Mount Kenya people think, which I don't want to say here, is sometimes amazing. If you hear sentiments by the Mount Kenya people about Peter Kenneth, you'll be surprised. You might actually start wondering whether he ever did anything in Gatanga, and yet he was, I think, either the best or the second best performing member of parliament. So the considerations for what they call their own is sometimes different from what people want to imagine. And in terms of other players like Justin Muturi, Peter Munya, I will tell you that every time the Mount Kenya issue comes up,
all right,
the assumption is that it covers all the central region. It covers Meru, Embu, and all those regions. However, when it comes to the main Kikuyu community, again, the uniqueness of looking at things becomes very different. And that's why people like Justin Muturi, for example, when they come up and they say they want to be representing the region, the reaction from the Kikuyu community will always be very different from what people expect as a person from the region speaking. So region and eliciting of reactions and the Kikuyu community, all those things, and sometimes even it depends, even from central Kenya itself, where you're coming from. People from Ranga are considered very differently by people from Kiambu, and people from Nyeri also look at. I mean, it's amazing, but it's a very complex web to think about.
Definitely, and I'm sure it will form a major say in the 2022 general election. Prof, add your voice to this, because this might be speculation as it is, but we definitely have the One Kenya Alliance side, perhaps naming Kalonzo Musyoka, who through this week's dailies has been touted as a kingmaker of sorts. And he had a tough stance on the #2 position, ruling it out. They seem to have softened that stance. Well, what's your take on perhaps the One Kenya Alliance and Azimio la Umoja finally working together, though they seem to be speaking from different scripts as it is right now?
Yes, thanks, Rogers. Just a brief comment on the Mount Kenya region. I agree with Manyasi 100% that Mount Kenya is a very complex region and a very complex area. There's Mount Kenya East, and then there is the Kikuyu part of Mount Kenya. That's also an issue, you know, the game abates and so on. But of course, everybody has been going to Mount Kenya. The DP has been going there. ODM has been going there. OCA has been visiting it quite a bit. Yeah, because I think what is clear is that if you abandon Mount Kenya, then as a presidential candidate, then the presidential candidate who gets it would actually be in a pole position to win. And I think that's the first question, that is Honorable Raila likely to pick a candidate outside of Mount Kenya? And that would be suicidal, because it means that you know, the entire place will just tilt towards towards the DP. But of course, having said that, again, like Manyasi says, it's a very complex region, and I don't think you can predict it accurately. I don't think you can say, fine, I mean, if you pick Peter Kenneth, then there'll be a tilt, you know, in the voting patterns. Mount Kenya can surprise. They can totally reject that person or totally embrace it. In fact, using the case of Uhuru Kenyatta, we remember that the president lost elections there, not even just as president, but as a member of parliament. And then later on, you know, he supported in a massive way when he actually lost the national election. Okay. Yes. So Mount Kenya is an interesting place, but definitely I think it is one of the leading places to produce the next deputy president, given just given the reality that collectively is a very rich vote basket. The One Kenya Alliance also is generating some interesting complexities, and I hope that they're doing their simulations to see the impacts of the various decisions. Yeah, because as it is, the One Kenya Alliance seems to be the ones that will tilt this poll and determine who wins. So they are in a very good kingmaker position. Yeah, because it's very clear that if One Kenya Alliance supports one candidate, then those regions that they represent are likely to, and which are also very rich. I mean, you are looking particularly at Eastern with Kalonzo Musyoka there, and then you're looking at Western, where I must say that Mudavadi has done a good job in terms of trying to consolidate that. I know that people question, whether they can actually deliver, but yes, I mean, is a force to reckon with. Okay. So I think those two, depending on where they swing, will be quite, will determine actually to a large degree the direction the election goes. So there are several scenarios. The first scenario is that the One Kenya Alliance backs up one candidate, either Ruto or the Prime Minister, and that is, I think that is a decision that is not likely to happen, because I know is what the President would desire. But on the other hand, if you look at it, it weakens the bargaining position. Well, they could choose to go that route. The second route is that they back only one candidate in their stable there, and then so that we have three strong candidates getting into the elections, and then force a by-election, not a by-election, but force a rerun. Yeah. In that case, then, of course, the One Kenya Alliance can negotiate with either of the candidates, and that puts them in a slightly stronger position, because at that point, it will be very clear that whoever they back is the one who's likely to win. Last but not least, which I think is something that they might not want to consider, is they implode, so that Kalonzo goes a different route, and Mudavadi goes a different route. You notice that I've not mentioned Gideon Moi, because I don't think it's a factor. And that way, again, I mean, they'll be fragmented, but that may enable them to negotiate differently with the different teams, and I think that will throw the entire presidential election wide open. We would not know the direction it will go.
Okay, well noted. Well, according to One Kenya Alliance, they are men amongst equals. We'll see how it transpires. So much to talk about, so little time. So allow us to take a short break, gentlemen. When we come back, we'll inform our viewers on the latest to do with the Jubilee Party, even as we get into the thick of what's happened in the education sector.